I had the best bow gunner in the entire Ninth Army in that seat. Now I got you. I promised my crew a long time ago I'd keep them alive. You're getting in the way of that.
You know, when you see the film open like this, you automatically think to yourself that you're going to be getting this type of character that's reminiscent of a one Sergeant Barnes from Platoon. I don't know, maybe even a Colonel Jessup from A Few Good Men. But then you look at this man pet this horse and send this horse on, and you think to yourself, maybe this right here is going to be a little bit different. The film subverts our expectations from the very start. They basically try to give you the whole, this guy right here is going to be rough, he's going to be mean, he's going to be hard, he's going to be cold. And then, of course, you find out right away that it's not going to be so simple. It's actually going to be quite complicated. But once you break the surface, you find out that not only is this right here a complicated character, but he's also quite relatable. So make sure you guys stick around for the full video and we talk about Sgt Don Wardaddy Collier. This right here is your character analysis video on this character. And of course, there are also 2 other videos that I have made on this film, both of which will be linked in the description box. This video is going to be a lot like the last one in the way it's structured. We're going to be going through the plot, of course, but we're going to be talking primarily about Don through this situation. A little bit, of course, about the man himself, some of the struggles that he has been through with the crew, and also to go on top of that, a certain deleted scene that got left out that I think explains the man brilliantly. Now, with that right there out of the way, make sure you guys stick around for the full video. If you guys can, please hit the thumbs up button. Also, to go on top of that there, please leave a comment in the comment section. I would love to hear what you guys have got to say, not only about the character, but also about the film. And please leave your thoughts on the essay as well. And with that right there out of the way, let's get to it. It's April of 1945, and the tank crew has lost their bow gunner, someone who has been with them, really, quite frankly, from the beginning, as Don later on explains to Norman in that deleted scene, since 1942, since North Africa. So obviously the crew is devastated by the loss, and you have to think to yourself, this is not the time for a brand new crew member, especially one like, say, Norman Ellison, who is probably only about 17 and a half, maybe 18 years old. He's a clerk typist, never seen any actual action. You have to kind of empathize with the crew on this one, especially Don.
Yes, I am.
God damn it. Who told you this?
Master Sergeant with the clipboard.
Bullshit.
Right there, he's right.
What's your name?
Norman.
How long you been in the Army?
8 weeks.
That's home.
Tank commanders have a lot of stress on them already. I know this as a tanker myself. I was never a TC, but loader, driver. If you've ever done tanking before, whether it be Army, Marine Corps, please leave a comment. I'd love to hear what you guys have got to say. A TC's job is hard enough. And when you factor in getting a brand new crew member at this crucial state in the war on the fly, yeah, you probably would be upset. But Don, if you ask me, actually handles this with, well, exactly how you probably should handle something given his situation. Now, at first it seems like Don is biting back at this, and given the fact that Don's first reaction once the men got back to the LSA off the mission was to basically step off to the side and kind of have a moment, you would figure that he would in fact be a little bit too stressed for this, but you've been dealing with this every day. You've been dealing with the grind. It's what you're trained to do. The crew, on the other hand, they have a bit of a different reaction to Norman, and I covered that before in the other 2 videos, but still though, their reaction is in fact understandable. I talked about how the crew initially interacts with Norman, even on the drive out on their first mission. I don't think I need to rehash this, but Don obviously does take part in the banter, which I'll come up back to a little bit later on this video. However, the crew acting the way they initially acted towards Norman, that eventually dissipates over time, for the exception of with Grady, but I did explain in the previous video on how it is that Norman evolves, that the bullying to a certain degree is in fact important. But getting on to the mission. So how does Norman respond his first time on patrol? Well, about the way you probably would not want it to go. The first thing that happens is that he sees 2 SS soldiers, And he doesn't exactly respond. He's a little bit late, and the tank in front of them, the tank commander, the lieutenant who's in charge of the platoon, he's killed. That entire tank crew is lost. And Don reacts to this how you would expect him to react. Yeah, obviously he is pissed off, as you guys can see right here in the B-roll footage. This right here is normal given the fact and these men have been through the ringer together and as a platoon, and yes, it is a brand new platoon commander that has taken over the tank. You still don't want to lose anybody, and you definitely don't want somebody on your crew to have been sort of the catalyst of why it is that this incident could have been avoided. Still, though, at the exact same time, they do eventually go on the assault next, and it does lead to that infamous freakout moment that Norman has after Gordo tells him to shoot these Germans who are on the ground. He doesn't know if they're playing dead or not. He doesn't know if they actually are dead. Either way, you probably need to shoot them just in case. But listen to Don at the very end.
I don't fuck! Can't fucking be here any fucking more!
Turn your goddamn intercom off if you're gonna bawl like that.
Turn your intercom off if you're going to bawl like that. You see, the thing is this right here. You have to be able to get over something very fast and then immediately recover, because it can affect your performance the rest of the day. Don's entire purpose is getting his men home alive. He's been working at this for close to 3 years. And he, in a lot of ways, kind of expresses this to Norman when he basically tells him, and I kind of played this clip to open this video essay up with, like I did in the first video essay, to kind of clamp down the point that Don's thinking is this guy right here could in fact get in my way. So how do I fix this? How do I fix the issue that is Norman could get in the way of getting myself and my crew potentially killed? Well, if you've seen the film, then obviously you've seen the film. I don't think I need to explain to you what happens. Of course, you guys can see it right here in the B-roll footage. Don basically lets him know, you are no good to me unless you can kill Germans.
You are no goddamn good to me unless you can kill crowds. Put a big fat hole in his back. Put a big fat hole in his fucking back. Hell not.
No. It's not right.
Not right. We're not here for right and wrong. We're here to kill them. Why are you here? You're here to kill him. You know why he's here? He's here to kill you. He's here to kill you, Norman. He's here to rip your throat out and pull it in your... Try and teach you something.
Even after objecting, Norman is still forced to, in some way, pull the trigger. Even though Don's hand is on the pistol and he's forcing Norman to pull the trigger, Norman obviously does the deed. And Norman is honestly frazzled. But if you pay close attention, Don is also frazzled as well. Like I've said before, the film kind of presents this cold warrior, but then you see shortly after he kills that German soldier at the beginning, him petting that white horse. Don is, in fact, a man. And at the same time, Don also knows that as hard as he is, he's also that tender as well. But there's one more thing about Don that needs to be established, and that is that Don has actual trust for his crew members. You see, the crew eventually goes into a German town, and Norman does finally use his weapon. And when he uses his weapon, he gets a little bit of praise from Don.
Good shooting, kid. Keep stacking them up.
You should have let them burn.
Yeah, good shooting, Norman. And then, of course, you heard Gordo at the very end. This right here is their way of bringing Norman into the crew. Now, granted, there are other scenes here that I'll get to here in a second, but if you think about it, Norman's turn, for the most part, was kind of pushed by the crew itself. There's even this bit where not only do you have Bible explain that the crew has been together for a long time, not only does Gordo go out of his way to calm Norman down and tell him that he's actually okay, but there's also this bit where Grady just kind of lets Norman know that Don is, in fact, very, very much a man.
Me neither. Yeah, but ain't no crew stay together like we have, Norman. That's because of him. First time we got shot at, down in North Africa. Don, he done shit his drawers full. He stunk the tank up real loud.
Don, he done crapped his pants full. Don is scared like any other individual at war. But I did say that there were parts from the assault and the, well, let's just say the town sequence that were going to be discussed, so let's get to that. When people talk about the sequence inside the town itself, they normally focus on the apartment sequence. And a lot of times they tend to focus on Don carrying Norman up into that room where it looks like a bunch of Nazi officials have gotten drunk and gone completely and totally degenerate before their final moments. And they think about that line. Ideologies are peaceful, but history is violent. In a lot of ways, I think that sums up the fact that Don, he sort of knows how to read the room and knows how to read the situation. There's more on this a little bit later on in the film that we'll get back to here shortly. But the men eventually, this right here of course being Don and Norman, they eventually go inside of an apartment where there are two ladies there. Now obviously the older woman trying to protect the younger woman, and of course that younger woman is hiding, and Don is not exactly thrilled with the fact that she hid her. Mainly citing the fact that she could have got her killed. You see that even with his rough exterior, he's still very, very much a protector. He is not going to hesitate 1 second to put down a threat, but he also understands what a threat is. The sequence where he's sitting down at the table and he's talking to the girl in the red dress, her name was Emma. This right here will be a girl that Norman would later on, let's just go ahead and say it again, bust his cherry with. The girl, he was really quite friendly. He was able to communicate with her even though she was obviously in fear of him. He gave her cigarettes, he gave her eggs. Of course, this was all done so that way they would cook those eggs for him and Norman. And of course, they also hook him up with some water for him to bathe. And of course, there's also that scene where they sort of pause and they look at Don Wardaddy Collier's back and they see all the burns and the scars. And Norman automatically thinks to himself, he got all this in the war. More on those scars here in a second. But what does Don say? That's a good, clean girl. You better carry her in that room or else I will. He obviously did this to try to get Norman to carry her in the room. He wasn't going to try to bed her down. I think it's pretty obvious what he tells the girl's cousin, the older woman, who is a little bit concerned, obviously, that they're young and let them kind of live. Don, for the most part, you can see behind those eyes, if he is behind that cold exterior, that for the most part he is in fact a live and let live person. But of course this scene gets interrupted when Grady, Bible, and Gordo come on upstairs. And what is definitely the most uncomfortable scene in the film, you have these other three members, Grady, Coon-Ass, and Gordo in particular. They decide to get a little bit emotional over this. And of course, Grady, he is a bit of a, well, let's just go ahead and say he's a bit of a jerk-ass. He's a bit of an obnoxious asshole during this entire sequence. The jealousy, the anger is picking up. And of course, also the bullying of Norman. There's not really a whole lot that Don can do about that because Don knows that Norman's going to have to carry his own weight and he's going to have to grow up at some point in time. But still, though, Gordo, given that story about how that was that they had to slaughter horses for a while, and of course I can already hear somebody in the comment section bringing up the fact that, yes, there's this connection between horses and tankers. Don't worry, that video will be down the line. But still, though, Don, he listens. He actually listens to all these complaints, which, by the way, that's going to come up again here shortly because we're going to be taking a detour here in a second. But still, though, Don's not exactly scared to lay down the law. He's not exactly scared to lay down the hammer.
Sitting here playing house, a couple bitch crowds ain't gonna change a fucking thing.
Shut the fuck up.
Why should I shut up?
You shouldn't.
And what do these men do? They obey. They stop. They stop being jackasses. Now, eventually they leave the town. And of course there's also that scene involving Grady and Norman after Norman's, Emma was killed. His little girlfriend was killed, so therefore obviously the first woman he's ever been attached to in some way, obviously Norman's going to feel some kind of way about it. But it's here where I feel that we need to take a detour when we start to talk about Don's actual personality and how it is that he really and truly associates with each member of the crew. So let's go ahead and do that. In the last two videos, I talked about the sequence on top of the tank on the way to the first mission with Norman and the bonding experience and how it is that they get the banter portion correct in this film. Obviously, when you get to the tiger scene, the tiger tank scene, the fight, there seems to be the one thing that people love to pick apart the most, but the one thing that they do get right is obviously the banter amongst the crew. This is the type of stuff that you talk about on the tank, especially in combat. However, it's also the stuff that you fight and you bicker over. Take the first part of the film right after the bow gunner is killed. Take this scene, for example. Let me roll it.
It's your fault! God damn it, ain't you done yet?
You got no right to be fucking sore with me. Quit fucking riding me.
I ain't riding you. If I was riding you, you'd know it. More where he came from.
Fuck you, Don. It's your fucking fault we here.
Are you still talking? Let's get out of here, boy.
Much.
Ah, fuck! The fuck you do that for? You're an animal, dog. All you understand is the fist and boot.
Don, I'm telling you right now, don't fucking call me that. I ain't a fucking animal. I ain't a fucking dog.
Vámonos, cabrón, vámonos.
Hey, you want to talk Mexican? Join another tank, Mexican tank. This American tank, we talk American.
Who put the fucking nickel in you, Top? You talk crowd. You talk German. I can't talk Spanish.
Bob, what country we in?
Germany.
Germany. They speak German. Did you explain to him it's tool of war?
Tool of war, Gordo.
Hey, here's my tool of war.
I expect all of you to pull your shit together.
Why don't you stop ragging on everyone? You can kill Red. Germans did.
That is true, but I didn't save him either.
His number came up, that's all. We've been lucky till now.
Been lucky?
Yes, sir. We're all alive. We're in here.
God's grace.
God's grace. That right there is the thing that I took out of that, besides Gordo and Don going at one another about Don speaking German. But then again, there's also the bit with Grady. Now, I did say I was going to talk about how Don interacts with each crew member. And there's a very interesting sequence, a very interesting deleted scene that was pulled for whatever reason, where Don is in the tank by himself with Grady. And Grady has been sort of dealing with a special type of stress on his own. Probably explains why he's so hostile towards Norman. But then again, though, at the same time, as I explained in the other two videos, the bullying is actually quite good. And I even brought up in the last video that I think under different circumstances, Norman and Grady probably would have been really good friends. But Grady confides in Don, and Don basically lets him know, look, dude, this right here is what you do. You go crazy, you blow up, and then you're right back to normal. There's even this bit after the survival against the Tigers where Don basically says we have to go to our next mission after everybody sort of sits back and celebrates the survival of the close call, where Grady himself even gets kind of excited about the next mission. Grady is kind of a hot and cold personality. It's just who the hell he is, and Don obviously understands that. And in the case of Gordo, it's really more of the banter between the two men itself that actually plays off one another very, very well. That's probably the connection that these two have. And with Bible, I don't think it's so much the fact that he's repeating what Don says. It's also the biblical connection as well. You see, people think about the send me scene right before the final battle. They think about Isaiah 6:8. However, what people fail to mention is that Don actually reciprocates this. Check it out.
Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, "Whom shall I send? And who will go for us?" And I said, "Here am I. Send me."
Book of Isaiah, chapter 6.
But why does Don take a liking to Norman? So let's go ahead and get to that before we get to the end. So the deleted scene, Rose, I brought this up a little bit earlier and I never really got to touch on it. The scene itself was a little over 6 minutes. I'm not going to play all of it for you guys because it's probably going to make the video much, much longer. But of course, it will be linked in the description box. And I'll play small parts of it for you guys here in a second. Just the most key moments in the session edited down. But the thing is, it's right here. Before the war began to heat up, Don had a girlfriend named Rose. They went out to a dance one night, and Don's little brother, who you also find out's name is Norman. Let me play this.
And my brother,
You don't need to tell me this.
War started, Judge told me to go die for my country. Best advice I ever got.
Probably the reason why it is that Don's face just kind of looks some kind of way, and he tells Norman at the very beginning of the film, let me just replay this for you.
What's your name?
Norman?
How long you been in the Army?
8 weeks.
That's home. Do as you're told. Don't get too close to anyone.
Guys, I'm not playing that for you guys to just listen to what he says. I'm playing it for you guys to kind of pick up on the body language. Like I said, Brad Pitt, this right here is probably his best acting performance if you ask me. But then again, though, I am biased, so make whatever you guys will. But still, though, the point is this right here. Don lost his girlfriend, and not only did he lose his girlfriend, he lost his little brother too. They died, and he is guilty over that. He feels guilty over it. And there's even also more in that scene where Norman basically says that he's dead already, and Don says, I know that I'm being judged for it. I know that I'm responsible. Which also makes you think that Don may have a bit of a death wish, and he's doing all this out of guilt. I mean, just look at the way he responds after he tells Norman the details of what actually happened.
You killed them. I know what I did.
You're already dead.
I don't disagree. Been with these fine gentlemen since 1942. They don't know any of this, not a word of it. Keep it that way.
You see it linger in his face. Also, something else too, he also tells Norman, I've never told anybody on this crew about this. I need you to keep it a secret. So you automatically come away thinking to yourself that, yeah, Don probably has a bit of a death wish, even though I personally don't think that that is the case. I think that Don just simply feels guilty about what happened and probably feels that in some way he should pay. Still, though, when it comes to paying, well, let's talk about that right now. What is he as an actual soldier? When they're assaulting the town, Don wants he wants to know about the SS officer inside, who's actually in charge, and he refers to the officer with the busted wing, and they kill him. Some people think that this right here may be kind of cold. Not really, especially given the fact that if you watch the actual film when they were actually assaulting the town going in, they see all these young people being hung by ropes. It seems to me like Don is a big-time believer in justice. There's also the sequence after the apartment scene, after the dinner table scene inside the apartment, where the girl asks Don what happens next, and Don's response is basically off to continue this war. You people need to stop fighting. I get the impression Don does not really usually like to kill. This where it kind of goes back to that whole bit where he said that ideologies are peaceful, but history is violent. And then going forward, when they do actually leave the town, he tells Norman this.
I started this war killing Germans in Africa, then France, then Belgium. Now I'm killing Germans in Germany.
It will end. Soon. But before it does, a lot more people gotta die.
Don doesn't like to kill. I mean, you wouldn't think that that's the case, but Don really does not like to kill people. He understands that people are people, and there are often, obviously, bits and pieces where he really and truly wants to kill the Krauts. And that's understandable, given what happened in World War II. We have to say Nazis are bad, because obviously YouTube's algorithm, but still the point is where Don does not actually like to kill. So given that we are now finally at the end, and also at the end of the story, should it surprise anybody that this man who really does not like to kill is still willing to go through with the mission? That mission, of course, is a mission that he sort of laid upon himself when he said, look, you guys go ahead and get out there in the tree line. I'll take care of this here, which of course is the battalion of SS soldiers that are coming down the road. Should it surprise you that Don was still willing to give his life and limb even though he claimed that he did not want to leave his home, which was the tank? Should it actually surprise you that he was willing to stand there and obstruct the Germans coming in, hopefully in an attempt to save the Allies up the road and allow them to continue on the mission to put an end to this war? Should it surprise you, given his leadership, the time that he has spent with these men, that they all choose to get inside that tank with him, get tight with him one last time, and decide to fight one more time with him? Should it surprise you? By the way, that final battle in this film is without a doubt probably one of the best battles I think I've ever seen on screen, especially in film. Yes, I understand the history buffs are going to tear this apart, but still, though, I'm just talking about the entertainment factor here, and also not to mention the point of this entire thing. The theme, of course, of family, or allowing a new family member into the family, or how it is that one person decided to take his situation and grow with it. That right there, of course, being Norman, and how it is that each crew member ultimately accepted him, and how it is that Don ultimately accepted him as well. Should it surprise you that each and every single tank crew member dies sacrificing themselves for yet another crew member? And when it ends, should it surprise you that Don, while regretful of the situation, regretful that he could not get his crew home, should it surprise you that he is willing, more than willing, to tell Norman not to surrender, to get out, shows him a way out? Should it surprise you that he's somewhat apologetic about everything that happened? No, it should not. Because at the end of the day, Sgt Don Wardaddy Collier was not just a great warrior, a man with a cold, hard exterior that, by the way, was obviously pretty daggone tender and soft inside. You saw that at the very beginning of the film. It shouldn't surprise you because at the end of it all, Sgt Don Wardaddy Collier was really just a good man. But hey, those right there are just my thoughts. You guys tell me what you think in the comment section. I would love to hear what you guys have got to say. Please comment on the video essay. Give me your thoughts on it. Please comment on the film, the character. Also, if you guys can, please hit the like button. If you guys are new here, you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing here. Also, I'll be linking my main channel in the description box, which of course will also include the first video that I did on this film. If you guys can, please, once again, consider subscribing over there. Hit the like button, subscribe, and share. And I'll see you guys later.